ping 1.1.1.1, we have internet access over 4G. It took less than 60 seconds. It was easy. It works out the box. It gives you so many awesome options with this product. Hey folks, how is everyone going today? My name's not Platima. I'm an Aussie bloke who likes tinkering that happened to smash the keyboard 21 years ago when Gmail first came out, and that's what I ended up as. Today though is not about me. It's about the Luckfox Pico Pi. This is an awesome new product from Luckfox, who are just dropping products like there's no tomorrow, and they were kind enough to send 4 of them. So there is 2 main variations, one with and one without 4G, and they've sent me 2 of each. So I will be giving 2 of these away, and I'll tell you the details about that later on. For now, let's have a look at what this is, what makes it so different, what makes it so awesome, because they've done something that no one else has yet, and we'll get through out of the box experience, firmware updating it, what it's compatible with, plugging it in and trying it out, the giveaway of course, and we're going to benchmark it. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this video, subscribe to this channel if this is the sort of stuff that you like. I do stuff like this once or twice a month, and I love all of your feedback, so definitely do let me know. But today is about this. 2 of these will end up in the hands of you. This one is staying in the hands of me, and I'm very curious. So, with my spicy drink ready to go, let's have a look at this. So if you've not caught on yet, this is a very familiar looking form factor. Now what we have here is the Pico Pi A and B. These are 2 different variants with 2 slightly different SoCs and slightly different capabilities. There's a few variants though that we will get into in a moment. So if you haven't noticed, it is very Raspberry Pi. So you've got the USB connector, the audio connector, USB and LAN, all in much the same spot, including the Pi 2 header. It is, of course, a little bit different. This is, as you can actually see there, the Core 1106, but in the Pi 2 form factor. So that's this standalone little board kind of turned into a Raspberry Pi. It gets one better though, because I don't know if you noticed that, but that's not an SD card slot. In fact, the SD card slot is underneath there. That is a SIM card slot for a very good reason. This is an LTE or 4G module that they've, sorry, that's a bit close, let's zoom out. So this is actually designed to take that 4G module, and this is essentially a Raspberry Pi on crack with 4G built in. It is not as powerful as the modern Pi 5s. This is an RV1106, so that's a 1.2 gigahertz ARM processor. That's a Cortex A7 with everything, some door just slammed in the background, sorry, with everything built on. But they give you a lot of other things that the Pis didn't have, and of course the 4G makes it very different as well. They're focusing on embedded applications here, so this comes with Buildroot or Ubuntu. It's based on the Rockchip SDK. You can customize it, but they of course go above and beyond. So having a look first off at the specs, you've got the kit with 4G or without 4G. You've then got the essentially the A and B model. So you can get, if I'm right, I believe you can get B with and without 4G as well. This is just the combination they sent me. So it's essentially with or without 4G. Then you've got the RV1106 G2 or G3. So the G2, which I believe is kit B, has a 0.5 tops NPU and only 128 mega RAM. The 1106 G3 has 256 mega RAM and a 1 tops NPU. The reason the NPU is important is because if you recall the original Pico Mini, Pico Plus, Pico Max, Pico Ultra, they're camera focused boards. This one again does go a little bit further though. But that 1 tops gives you recognition, detection, those sorts of things. You can also run a few different things on this that I'll get into. You've got then with and without Wi-Fi. So you can see here, this has got the Wi-Fi module on board. There is the option of getting the broken core 1106 without Wi-Fi as well. Now these do have Ethernet on board. They've got 10100 Ethernet, and if you recognize those little pins there, that is for a PoE header. So you can grab any of the WaveShare or Raspberry Pi compatible PoE headers to plug into these. But 10100 megabit is not bad at all. Along with that camera capability, they of course have hardware encoding. So this does H.264 and H.265 hardware encoding, and they rate it at 5 meg 30 FPS. So that scales up and down depending on the resolution that you're working with. 5 meg at 30 FPS is going to give you about 4K at 15 FPS, which is enough for you to see animation. You are probably going to notice the frames though. Or if you go the other direction, you can do 1080 at 60 FPS. Now technically you can even do 72 FPS depending on overheads and whatnot. But that fits within the memory constraints of these and what the VPU or ISP can actually do. These also both have this 8 gig eMMC built on. They do support an SD card. I'm not sure if you can boot to NVMe yet if you use this as NVMe. I honestly doubt that you can, but because these are so new, the documentation has not really come out yet. And then lastly, they've got this MIPI CSI 2-lane interface there, which we will likely also test out. Now, what makes this a little bit different from all the others, let me just freshen up. Aside from not quite being a Raspberry Pi because it has the SD card, it also stands above a lot of other SBCs or even embedded SBCs that I've used. And the way that does that is, first of all, RTC. That is fantastic. This is a 1mm 2-pin SH connector, so I don't know if it fits all standard RTC batteries, but I've actually got, oh my toe, I've got one right here, so we can see. Where did I? Apparently I've already lost these RTC batteries that I had in my hand less than an hour ago. But SH 1.0 connector. It also here has an onboard microphone, so if we go back up a bit closer for you, that's an onboard SMD microphone there, but you do have the option of adding your own microphone on there. And of course you have a 3.5mm audio out. So they've taken quite a few more steps to really turn this into a bit of a hybrid device. So it's not as small as the original Luckfox Picos, which were the 1103. It's got the camera feature and the VPU like the Pico series did, but then they've added on the audio features, which is very much like their new Nova series that we'll probably have a look at, and they've added the 4G. So this gives you a really universally useful board. And now people might say 1.2 gigahertz 32-bit, who cares? Well, that's actually a lot of power. Like, I started on a 386. It didn't have a Mathco processor. I can't even remember what it was running at, probably 40 or 50 megahertz, single core, and that was even 16-bit if I recall. Then I went 486, 486DX, 386, P2, and on, and now we're left with these behemoth processors today, running behemoth software applications. But for embedded use, especially running a custom Linux image or a build root image, you can probably even go Yotco, that's a lot of power, a hell of a lot of power. Now, let's get into a little bit more about it. Actually, before I go any further, I did just want to remind you that PCBWay continues to be a fantastic sponsor of this channel, and they do a lot of cool stuff. They've got all these projects that people list on there if you design your own stuff, but they give me the opportunity to give you guys some stuff too. If you use the link below, you get $5 off your first order. As you can see, new here, get a coupon, and that gives you 10 pieces for free. You just pay like $5 shipping on top of that, which is nothing, and I get orders through these guys all the time. As you can see, my internet is quite slow today. That's not their website. They do some really, really good stuff, and I continue to use them because the quality of their product and support is through the roof, regardless of them sponsoring this channel. I used them before that, and I'll continue to use them after that. They also engage the community a lot. So besides having the shared projects and the module store, they do have a competition on, which has just wrapped up, but they're also going to be in Melbourne next week at the Electronics Design and Assembly Expo, and I wish I could go. Like, it is really cheap and quick for me to get there, but I'm absolutely slammed. So I'll have to defer this until next year, but they do some neat stuff. Related though, I do also have a Patreon, and there's a few really, really lovely supporters that have joined and help out, and I help them out. You get all sorts of stuff in here, and it's as cheap as $4 Australian a month, which is like nothing in freedom dollars. As you can see though, I do actually share a lot of stuff on there. This is a preview of some of the posts, and this is what that board is going to turn into. So that is my entry. There's more details, a bit of a write-up, but I share quite a lot of early release videos, projects I'm working on, all sorts of cool stuff like that. So feel free to like and subscribe. Feel free to follow me on Patreon for free or give me some money. Feel free to click on the PCBWay link. It all helps. It is all greatly appreciated. Now, we will get back here because this is the interesting thing at hand. What I forgot to say about this micro SD slot is that at the moment, this is micro SD storage only, which is important. So it is all eMMC. What I did just notice though, that I haven't seen before, if you have a look closely, they actually have the pin numbers and descriptions under there, which is really, really good. You can see it's a standard Pi 2 header, but I love that labeling. Not enough things do that. It's got that nano SIM slot, standard header. Now build root or Ubuntu 22.04, that is my preferred version anyway. It's a 5.10, currently 0.106 kernel, I think. Sorry, .160. And that's just limited to Rockchip. That's not on Luckfox. It is an LTS release kernel and it is still actively updated and maintained though, so I don't think you have to worry about anything there. You can flash these from Windows, Mac, and Linux. They've got instructions for all of it. We're going to be doing it on my Linux machine just over here that I'm recording on. And they've got a few connectivity methods. So you can use the USB port, you can use the network connectivity, you can use UART, and over USB you've got RNDIS, which is on the way of Old Yeller, or ADB. So I'll probably be using ADB for that. And then lastly, the SDK is on GitHub, so you can clone it and set it up. It's actually quite easy to use. I cut my own images with it all the time. They do store their firmware on Google Drive, and I'm not the biggest fan of that. And their Ubuntu folder is currently missing, or the link is down, so they're going to fix that as soon as they're back from their May Day holidays. But everything is very accessible and designed for tinkerers, designed for people who really want to experiment and figure out what you can do with this awesome hardware. So that's where I'm going to get onto this giveaway. I'm going to give away one of the A's and one of the B's. They both have Wi-Fi, but the A comes with the 4G module. I've probably already mixed them up. I'll have to have a close look later. To each of you, the way that I want this to work is I want you to tell me what you would use one of these for, and then if you don't have use for these, still go down to the comments and upvote or comment on the one that you like the most. So let's just say you come up with an idea of a solar IP camera that sends 4G messages. That could be a really good idea. So you leave it as a comment. If a lot of people like it, your comment's going to be rated really highly and you might win it. But let's just say you have no interest in these. You just like watching some random Aussie bloke that talks too fast. You might still want to support one of the ideas below. So scroll down, have a look at what other people have suggested, and click the little updo button on any that you think are a good idea. Now today is Friday, May the somethingeth, the 2nd. What I'd like you to do is make sure that you've watched this video, left your comment or upvoted on your comment within 2 weeks. And then if you do leave a comment, make sure you've got your alerts turned on, because I'll comment on your comment and let you know you've won this. Wherever you are in the world, I'll post it to you, as I usually do. And yeah, I want one person to come up with an idea for the 4G one to come up with an idea for the non-4G one. And I want you to really make use of these things' capabilities. So you've got Wi-Fi or Ethernet, you've got the microphone onboard or external, you've got the audio port, you've got the camera, you've got the ISP, you've got some SD card storage. There is 100, even PoE, there is 100 things I could probably come up with off the bat here, but I'm not that creative. You guys have a world of expertise and ideas that I don't have. Let me know, win one of these. Moving on, what we're going to do now is test one of these out. First, I want to explain these little dip switches though, because there are essentially two options. The way this USB port works is it's essentially a device mode, and you plug it in and you're going to get you can flash over it, it's going to power it as well. You've got RNDIS, ADB and all of that. Or you can change it into host mode, and that enables these 4 ports. So you can see here, if we change up to the up close focus, what we've got in here is on or 1, so that's USB or hub, and that's going to control the Type-C port. Now, when it's in hub mode, this 4th USB port, I believe it's that one, I hope it's not that one, the 4th USB port does 2 different things. It can either be using the pins for this M2, or it can be giving you that port. So if you're using this for 4G, you're going to want to change it. Let me grab some tweezers and demonstrate. So you're going to want this pin in OK mode to start with, so that you can actually flash it over the USB-C connection. And if you want to use 4G, you're going to want that there, but that will have to go there. So that is already flashed and ready to go with 4G. That is so you can flash it. And then that is so you can use the USB ports after you've flashed it when you turn that back there. I know it sounds confusing, but essentially this can act as a USB port, or it can be the hub for these USB ports. And if you want to use the M2 port for 4G or anything else, you need to give up one USB port. So, I mean, the labels really do describe it pretty well. We're going to put it in USB mode, and I'm going to go with the 4G. So we'll leave it like that. That will do us for now. We're not actually, of course, going to be able to make use of that 4G until we flick it back. But when these come from the factory, they are pre-flashed. They're not necessarily pre-flashed with the latest or a full image though. They're flashed with enough just for the QA team to make sure that they're shipping a product that actually works. So now what I'm going to do is go over to the computer, plug one of these in. I've downloaded the latest image. I'll show you where the documentation is. I'll show you where to get the images, and I'll show you what it's like to flash it with Linux. We're then going to boot it up and have a look at it too. Now, we could use these debug headers over here, but I'm just going to use ADB because watching it boot's not all that interesting, and we can see most of it once it's booted anyway. So hold tight, I'll be back in a tick. Righto, back at the desktop here, you can see we've got these 4 different variants. So you've got the A and the B that we're talking about with all of their specs. I'll leave a link to this below for you to get to it nice and easily. It goes over all of these things that it's got. Now, this is the mode selection that I was talking about. They probably explain it a little bit better than I do, but I'm sure you'll get the idea. This is probably going to be the truth table that you'd want to use for that. We then have the flashing options. So you've got the Rockchip SoC Toolkit for Windows, you have the upgrade tool on the command line for Linux, and then you have the upgrade tool for Mac OS. It also has some information on erasing the eMMC in case you want to, and some basic FAQs. Then goes on to the login information, including how you can talk to it, static IPs, what you might need to set up. As I said, they're still setting up a lot of this documentation here, but don't forget, this is still a Pico with an RV1106. So you can go down to the documentation here and treat a lot of it the same. So if you have a look at the Pro Max and we look at the compatibility list, it's gonna be pretty much the same, including, you know, the examples of what you can do with image recognition. It's all the same stuff underneath, it's just in a different form factor. Now, you've got the SDK here, which is a very comprehensive document if you wanted to get into that. But what we're gonna do is we go to the Google Drive resource, and what I've downloaded is the build root image for eMMC here. Jumping back, we'll have a look at what they say to do. So in a Linux environment, we will first want to plug it in. And if we have a look at the camera, we want to hold the boot button. And it's worth noting it's boot, reset, and reset 4G, which is quite handy. So hold the boot button and plug it in. I'm hoping that, no, all right. I will just get a better USB cable because that one's no good. Won't be a sec. Alrighty, so now we've got a cable that can do a bit more current. You're going to want to hold the boot button when you plug it in. And now what I've found is that you are going to want to hold it for a moment. So the net light will come on, but you just want to give that a moment before you let go, because it does have some sort of delay there. And I'm not too sure what the reason for that is. Now, if we go back to the desktop here and we do demessage, all right, there you can see me plugging it in and unplugging it. And if we do LSUSB, that's what we want to see. So checking their documentation, update, we've got the config. We're not actually going to do it that way. We're going to have a look at what we've got here. So we have upgrade tool. We're going to the upgrade tool folder, and you can see here there is a config. This has nothing in it in this case, but upgrade tool does have a whole pile of commands built in. So we'll want to do I didn't even realize this is it. So LD, so we go upgrade tool LD, it's seeing it there, which is excellent. And you've got a few different things. So we're gonna want to upgrade the firmware. Note that that's not the loader, that's the bootloader. If you've got more than one device, you can choose which device or switch device that you want to work with. So it does make it pretty straightforward for us. We can just go upgrade tool, upgrade firmware, and we'll want to grab this Luckfox Pico image. And in here, you can see it has got a whole pile of files here. This is for when you're using the Windows tool. If you're using the upgrade tool, you just want that update.image. It's got pretty much everything built in. You can see here that it's going to push the image straight to it. And do I have a camera view that has, no, I don't. So if we jump back to the camera here, you can see it's pretty much stable with just that light. I've got a bit of lens glare, sorry, it does need a clean. It's at 50% now, it's nearly done. Give it a few more seconds. It's only about 120, 150 meg from memory. It might be 170, but these are embedded devices, so it's a small image there. There we go, and that should reboot now. There we go. You can see that activity light from it booting. And then, pardon my slurping, we've got the little heartbeat once it has booted. There's our heartbeat. Now, if we come back over to the computer, which is that one, we'll get rid of all of this. And you see ADB, where is my command? I can never remember anymore. ADB shell. Or if you've only got one device, you don't need to bother listing devices. And look, you can see we are in there. If we go cat proc CPU info, you can see we have our 8 gig eMMC there. Of course, there's bits reserved for different things, and they've included some additional mount points for us with some fun things in it. We've got our 256 meg of RAM. The reason you're not seeing 256 meg there is some reserved for the VPU and ISP overhead. That's pretty common. If you've used these before, you should be used to it. And we've got our 5.10.160 kernel, which we just pushed onto it. If we have a look at OEM user bin, we have a whole pile of tests in here, which are going to give you what do I do? I can't even remember the command. I'll just do this for listing them in the other format. You can see here there is a whole pile of options built in. The one you're probably going to really want, in fact, we'll just quickly check if there's anything in there. Oh yeah, basic Ethernet and Wi-Fi config. That's really good to know about. Let's go into this file here though. And is there any config? No. All right. The one that you're probably going to want is the RK Lunch. This is the one that's actually going to work with your camera. If you've got your camera plugged in, this is going to do all the fun stuff. So I don't know if this is going to be exposing network port. Okay, we can see we've got one there. What about on my computer? I've got a... No, I probably need to set a static IP address, which is what it's been popping up and telling me about. So if we go to our wired connection 2, it's going to have a little sad... Yeah. Disconnect from that. And if we go... edit connections, let's have a look back over here at our IP address. Wired connection 2. We do not want DHCP. We want manual, and we're going to go 172.32.99. We don't need anything else in here. Save that, close that, enable that connection. Now 172.16.0. What was that? .93. 172.32. There we go. All right. So that means we can also SSH to it now, which is going to be root and Luckfox. Look at that, nice and snappy. And we've got our root shell now, same as we had before. I forgot about that actually. They've got a few things in here. I think it's a set of benchmark things that just absolutely hammer the performance. And we will be running a benchmark on this if I can get it to run. I might have to do an embedded benchmark though and have a think about it. What we want to look at next though is the camera. So over here, there is one thing. You might have noticed this MIPI CSI connection is slightly different. And that is because they do have a different pin out and a smaller connector. It's a MIPI CSI 2-lane. And I really do need to make an adapter board for this because it is pretty universally compatible. They're just using, and it's even still 3.3 volt, I believe, unlike Milk 5. They're just using, which way around does that go? Yeah, that way. They're just using a different pin configuration. I don't know why. It's probably to stop support requests. If you can imagine, if it used the standard 15P1, people would be plugging all sorts in. The image doesn't have the drivers or the device tree configuration for any camera. It's only got the ones that they know are going to work optimally with this VPU. You don't want, a 4K camera trying to, pull 30 to 60 FPS across a 2-lane connection. So now I'm just going to grab my little tweezers and we'll just lift this header pin a little bit, and we'll make sure we get the cable the right way around and plug it back in really badly, really badly. There we go. That is not the best job, but we'll then be able to get a better idea of what's going on and see what it recognizes. Not very much, because there is not much interesting in this room. I do sell these cameras, by the way. I'm not sure if you're aware, but I have an e-commerce shop, in case you've not seen it. And I have a whole pile of Luckfox products that I actually stock. These ones I haven't bought in yet. Honestly, some of the hottest sellers are the I can't believe I'm sold out. I thought I had more left. Obviously, the sold out ones are the hottest sellers, but I do have a whole range of Luckfox stuff, and I'm buying more and more in, and this channel is what helps me feed this. I, of course, have other brands if you're interested. I do have tools like soldering irons and all sorts of things like that. And I've got heaps of modules that you can connect, even if you go like, say, displays, with SPI and I2C, Waveshare and other brands, if you want to, build these out into more functional products. If you want to test anything, really, I've got all sorts of cool stuff. All right, I can't actually remember what I was up to before I got distracted. I've been doing some different stuff. Look, we've still got it plugged in like we had. I ended up reading some of the documentation to figure out what's going on. Now, if we go back here and we have a look at the documentation, I've jumped over to the Pico RV1106 because it's pretty similar. They've also just released this camera, which is why they've got the 5 megapixel support. So that's a bit higher than the 3 megapixel one here. And we'll show this camera off in another video, because I do have some that they've sent me already. So they show you how to connect it. And then they mention here that you do just need to change the config. Now, it's going to get a little bit noisy because we've got a storm rolling in. It's the start of winter, but we'll get through it. First thing you can see here, we go Luckfox config. We've got the advanced options of what we can turn on and off. So we're going to want to enable that one, effective after restart. And you can see in here that you've got the 4G module config as well. So I'm not going to touch that at the moment because we are using ADB and there's no documentation on the 4G. If you're familiar with Linux at all and you've done 4G before, I'm sure you know what you're doing. I'm guessing it's just going to show up as a network interface that connects automatically if you've got a SIM card. Maybe I'll do that in a future video. Let me know if you want me to screw about with the 4G. We'll reboot this now. You can see when we come back here, move that out the way. Oh, it's really starting to bucket down there. We've got our little activity light for it booting, and when we get the heartbeat, we know it's booted. Now these do boot really quite quickly, a matter of seconds. It depends on what image you're using and what you're booting from, in this case eMMC. It is relatively quick. There we go, that was 10 seconds, if that. Now, back over on the computer, if we SSH back in, and if we have a look at LS user data, look at this, we've got some extra files there now. This means that we know it has picked up the camera. Now, without even trying it yet, since it's booted, because I haven't cut this, I'm just going to try this playlist entry. And look at that. You can see its output here. So, yeah, there we go. That is and that's my Logitech recording. So this is actually doing what it's supposed to do. I'm not sure if it's going to actually recognize any objects or if you have to turn that on. That's probably part of the RKNN examples. And it does get into that. So in here, they've got a full overview of how it all works. And then they've got the examples of what you can do to actually test it out. Now, I'm not going to go into this. This is a bit deeper than what I normally get into. What we are going to do, though, is really think about this product. First of all, I'm giving it away. It's a great product. We love Luckfox. I'm not sure if you know, but I do actually give away free rulers with every shop order. And if you've never bought a Luckfox product from me before, Luckfox partnered with me and went halvesies on doing some Luckfox and Platima branded rulers. So I reckon these look really cool. You only get them with Luckfox orders. And you can see they were, of course, made by PCBWay, hence the high quality matte black and gold or color, including that wonderful UV print that PCBWay now do. So you get one of these thrown in with every Luckfox order. But that's beyond the point. I'm going to give one of these away. You know how to. I'd love to hear how you're going to use it. Let's have a quick think of the tier list aspect of this, which is the last thing that I like to get into with any product now that I'm running this tier list. If you have not actually seen it, it's on SBCtierlist.com. This is a basic little static web app that I made that, again, my internet is rubbish, where I'm starting to put everything into a tier list here, and links to the videos, purchasing links if you want it, with all the SBCs that I test out. The way I rate it is pretty simple. So first of all, we've got the price and availability. You saw that these things are really cheap. They start about 18 bucks US. Very, very cheap. I'm in Australia and I'm going to be stocking these, which means you're not going to have to worry about the tariffs. They do come from China if you buy them direct from Luckfox or AliExpress or anything. I will be stocking them. There will be a pre-order for this because I don't have stock in at the current price. Australian here, so US dollar exchange is a bit. But it's not only from China, and it's a good price. So I'm going to give this a 4 out of 5 for price and availability. I'm actually only knocking it down a peg because I don't have it in stock yet. I'm just being honest, of course. Now, features and specs. It's nearly a perfect Pi 2 form. So it's going to fit in most Pi 2 cases, but not the ones that have a middle layer. It's got a solid CPU and RAM for an embedded Linux system. It's got eMMC on board, it's got SD card for storage, there's no GPU, it's got option of Wi-Fi, 10100 Ethernet, Pi 2 header, 2 microphone options, audio out option. We've got the M2 slot for 4G. 4G is a great addition. RTC battery. It's got 0.5 or 1 tops NPU. It's got the 5 megapixels worth of H.264, H.265 encoding. It's got dual lane MIPI CSI. Like, this thing is it's a connectivity machine. It's got so many connectivity methods. It takes the trophy for that. That's a 5 out of 5 for sure. Now, the documentation, ease of navigation, clear language, Mac, Windows, Linux, it's all there. I have 2 minor concerns with that. One is you do have to jump back to the other Luckfox Pico doco, like you saw me do for some of it. That's fair enough, but they could do something there to deduplicate that data or make it easier to consume. And the images are not in GitHub. Even though the SDK is in GitHub, their images are on Google Drive, and that can pose some issues. Now, on that note, to give you a little handy tip, if you do ever actually go to download one of these images, and it says that the file has been downloaded too much, or they're over their quota, just sign in. Sign in with a free Google account, and then it'll be using your quota, not theirs. So if you run into that, that is how you overcome it. So I'll give them a 4 out of 5 for the documentation and support. The software and the images, we've got a Ubuntu or a build root version, but you do have the SDK available. From what I believe, they use the 2 different C libraries. So it's going to be Musel, I think, for the build root version, and glibc for Ubuntu. The updates are fairly regular. So I've seen updates roughly every 3 months. They are very proactive at fixing things though. Kernel version is an LTS release. That's limited by Luckfox, and there's no third-party images yet, but you don't really need them. You can probably cut your own Alpine Linux. I've actually done that in another video before based on someone else's instructions. So I'm going to give them a 3 out of 5 for that one. They could definitely improve by working with Rockchip to get a newer kernel going, by having more variations, by adding some third-party images like an Alpine build, or even just updating it more frequently. I know that's pushing it a bit. Now, the reliability, general use is fantastic. The performance was great. It booted quickly. I haven't tried a file copy yet, but the eMMC built onto these historically has been quite good. There's no GPU to worry about. It hasn't crashed. It was very easy to use because of all the connectivity methods. And I know the Wi-Fi module on these is solid. Now, with the Wi-Fi module, of course, you do have this external antenna. They, I think, have, if I have a close look at one here, no, they don't have an onboard antenna. So some products will have an onboard antenna as well, like the Radshare products, and you have to switch between it. So you should use one of these. If you don't have one of those, or you want something smaller, you can probably get some of the FPC connectors or the FPC Wi-Fi modules. That's what I usually use, but these are designed to fit in. For the 4G, you also have this connector as well, the external SMA, I think it is, connector. And you can see on there, there is actually main, aux, and GNSS, it looks like. So the 4G module has GLONASS or GPS built in, which is fantastic. Yeah. Performance and reliability, 4 out of 5. That was my mistake thinking it was triple core, but so be it. we all make mistakes. The last rating is accessories and compatibility. So it takes USB-C power, which is great. It doesn't have any secondary pins over there, like you can't put 12 volt in or something, but it does have the standard Pi 2 header, so you can use the 5 volt rails on there. It supports PoE, it supports their cameras, but only their proprietary connector, which bumps it down a little bit. It has M2 and SD card, so you can use external storage, but you can't boot from them yet, so they're going to lose a little bit there. There's no display options, but it's an embedded device. That's perfectly fine. Third-party accessories are going to be through the roof, so they're going to support pretty much any USB device, any SPI or I2C device, mics, everything like that. So really, really good third-party, and the cases and hats are going to be stock standard as well. The way that lines up as well, you just might want to be aware that some hats might touch that 4G module, so just watch what's on the back so that you don't short them. So all of that, it just, on average, just bumps this up into our second A-class product. So looking back over here, the only other A-class products we've had so far is the Radget X4, because that was amazing. It's got a built-in RP2040, along with a huge host of connectivity options, x86 CPU, which I know some of you don't like, and the Pi 2 form factor, and of course the RP2350 Plus from Waveshare. This is going to join them. This is a fantastic, fantastic product that I'm thoroughly impressed with, especially for the price point. Once I've got them in stock, the price and availability is going to go up. They're going to be finished with documentation once they're back from May Day, because this is only released in the last few weeks. So that's going to go up. That's why I'm giving it that A. It's just skirting in. I wish they had their firmware on GitHub. I wish they had used a normal MIPI CSI connector. I wish you could boot from SD. That can probably be fixed in code. And I wish they added more firmware images, like some more variations, maybe with a newer kernel. But that's superfluous. All of that is fixable. The product itself is rock solid. So, thank you, Luckfox, for sending these, including 2 for me to give away to you lucky commenters. Don't forget to leave a comment below with what you would do with one to gain the chance to win one, or up-like something if that's what you want. Now, if you don't think people are going to up-like your comment idea, share it on your socials and say, hey, I'm going to win this thing from some random dude in Australia. Go up, vote my like. Here's my like. That helps everyone out, right? So yeah, thank you to Luckfox. Thank you to PCBWay for continuing to support this channel and fund me doing this awesome stuff. I don't always get these sent to me to test out, like the X4 that we just saw. I think I bought that. I can't remember whether I bought that or Brad just sent it to me. But all of this does cost money. And then lastly, thank you to the Patreons or patrons. You guys, there's only half dozen of you so far, but you're really, really helpful. You all contribute in some way. I really appreciate your input. You're also helping support this channel. The next step for me is going to be getting a better camera than Logitech Brio. I'm going to be getting some Razer camera I found that apparently is fantastic. You guys are doing excellently. I value all of your input and your support. I do appreciate you viewers as well, of course. I wouldn't do it if it wasn't for you, because it's fun. Your interaction is fantastic. Leave your comments, leave your likes, your subscribes, all those things that the algorithm wants. Thank you. I'll see you next time. Have a lovely weekend. Well, I couldn't not scratch that itch. I was very curious about this 4G module. So I've put the 4G module in, I've plugged it into my network, I've flipped the dip switches as I showed you before, and now we're going to test it out. So having found it on my network by just using an Angry IP scanner on my computer, we can connect to it again. We can see, we can just go, we know that we're on it, or yeah, anything like that. We can see we're in a Luckfox. Now IPA, we can see we've got WLAN 0 and USB 0. Now I have set the dip switches, but that physically changes the connection. It doesn't change the software. So what we're gonna have to do now is go Luckfox config, advanced USB host. That's really important because we need that USB port to, well, we need the software to know that the USB port is actually physically wired to the hub now, which then also gives up that free lane for the M2 connection, which we have the 4G module on. Now I've just grabbed the SIM card out of my phone from that. I don't know if I'm going to be missing any phone calls or SMSs. I don't even know if this thing would receive the SMSs or tell the network hold on to them for now. Once we've done that, we can then run Luckfox config again and go 4G module enable WAN. Now, if we haven't changed the USB mode first, it's going to poo out here and it's going to say can't find dev TTY USB 2. Now, we've got the WAN 0. So you can see that's our local loopback interface. That's our Ethernet, which is plugged in that I've SSH to it too. That's our wireless. That's our 4G connection, and that's our wireless that we're not using. Now, if we have a look here and go route, we can see we have both routes there, and this is my wireless. So, well, it's on the Ethernet interface to a little bridge I plugged in. So what I'm just going to do is route del default gateway 10, 12, 22, 5, 4, and now we can see our only gateway is out that WAN interface. And if we go ping 1.1.1.1, we have internet access over 4G. It took less than 60 seconds. It was easy. It works out the box. It gives you so many awesome options with this product. There is actually one thing that this would go really well with that I'll quickly grab out a box and show you that was from another sponsor, just as some more added bonus content. Check this out. So DF Robot actually make and sell these little solar panels here that can put out 5 volts. They've got an embedded 5 volt regulator at about 1 amp, which is going to be enough for this thing. Now, you are going to want to have an inline UPS of some sort, like a LiPo UPS. You could probably even have a battery backup added straight onto the board itself, but something like this would allow you to use that 4G module in a full Linux system running Ubuntu anywhere in the world, basically anywhere with sunshine, which is in Australia. You can't even get away from it. So that's just awesome. This is fantastic. Well done, Luckfox, at breaking the mold with a new product that fits in with existing accessories and norms like the Pi 2 header, but does something differently and does it affordably and very easily. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope this was helpful. Have a wonderful weekend.